In episode number 377 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we covered the James Bond No Time to Die trailer.
We also have our thoughts on DC Universe's Harley Quinn episode 1.
And our comic book highlight this week is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT number 1.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am your Mmpr Kelli.
And I am Poke fan Daniel.
Poke fan, we are both Poke fans.
We are.
Who's the bigger Poke fan?
You're a Gen 1er, so I am the bigger Poke fan.
No, it's me.
Not true.
That's a lie. It's me. For those of you joining us for the very first time, the way we format the shows, we're going to go over some news. We have our Patreon shout-outs, we have our comic book highlight, and we end with our Brocat block, which is what happened with Daniel and I this week.
So this is a lighter news week, but we're going to kick things off with the Nintendo Switch. And thanks to Black Friday and holiday deal bundles, the Switch enjoyed its best week of sales since launch in early 2017.
This was just a few weeks after the launch of Pokemon Sword and Shield. Pokemon Sword and Shield. The more I play the Switch, the more I like it. I think I like the system way more than I ever liked the Wii. I think it's easier to just pick up and play it rather than turn it on and have to be in one place, and that's my thoughts.
Did you have any initial doubts about the system, things you didn't like that kind of grew on you?
I don't know if I did. I had been kind of turned off from Nintendo consoles for a long time because I do like Nintendo handhelds better. And I think it's just for the ease of, like I said, being able to pick it up and just play it. More so in our life now because we have a child. But even before, I didn't really have time to sit down and play a video game, right? There was always something going on. I had like 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. So being able to just pick up something and turn it on and start right away was always a big plus for me. So I think just thinking of it as a console, initially I was like, no thanks, bro. But then they released the Pikachu one. And I was like, son of a bitch, gotta get it because I have a sickness for Pikachu consoles. So picked it up, but like I said, it's so incredibly easy because I pick it up off the stand, right? I can play it for a little bit, put it back on the stand, and then it actually flips to my TV incredibly easy. So if Leo's trying to tap the screen a whole lot, just pop it back on the stand and pull it back up on the TV.
See, I still haven't gotten used to the handheld portion of the system. It's not something that I can really do. And I played the DS, the 3DS, a bunch of the handhelds. But for some reason with the Switch, in my mind, I still view it as a home console. Okay. Even though I know it's a handheld at this point, the console portion is not what Nintendo had in mind when they built this thing. But to me, I still want to play it on the TV with a controller and maybe a different console later on, but this is going to be, I think, the direction that they're going to go in moving forward. And I asked this question to Dead Channel Duo, another podcast and friends of the show, but do you think that Nintendo is going to focus on having a handheld, just like the Switch Lite? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, where it's just strictly handheld, right?
Exactly.
The controllers don't remove from it.
Right, and the screen's a little bit smaller, it's lighter, and the battery life is longer. Do you think that is going to be their focus now, based on how well the Switch did, and with their data that less than 10% of people use it in dock mode?
I don't necessarily think so. I think they'll take this Switch and what it is and make it their next handheld, obviously, which they have, but I don't foresee them completely abandoning a console. The really great thing about technology now is I think you can get just as much data and great graphics and everything in a handheld as you can a console, where we couldn't necessarily do that before, and that's why there was the big divide between them. But I think as we continue moving forward, you're going to see a lot where they can be either or, like we saw with the Switch. I wouldn't be surprised if other companies start doing that as well, just because it does allow so much more range for players.
one of the things that Nintendo has to really count their blessings on with these consoles and with their future, and the fact that they own a majority of the Pokemon company, is the fact that they have Pokemon as an exclusive on their systems.
Well, Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, like those are giant, and it doesn't matter how old you get, right? If you played them as a kid, you're still playing them now.
Yeah, but I think that the Mario games, while I sold a shit ton to kids in my career at GameStop, there's nothing quite like a Pokemon out there where it will get kids to get their parents to buy a console just for that game. Mario Kart, sure. Mario Party, yes. But not on the level of Pokemon, I don't think. So I think it is smart for Nintendo to have those different levels of games that will hit these different gamers. And I think it's very evident that they've had Mario, they've had Zelda already released on the system. And it's not until 2 games come out, Sword and Shield, that they end up having a record year for the consoles.
Right. I mean, I'm enjoying them so far. I haven't played any more this week, but the small amount that I did play, and like every night as I fall asleep because I just can't keep my eyes open, I'm like, oh, Pokemon.
Over to Disney as they develop something that they acquired thanks to the Fox and Disney deal. According to Variety, director Wes Ball, who worked on The Maze Runner, is developing a new Planet of the Apes film.
There's no details yet on whether this would be a clean reboot from Rise of the Planet of the Apes or a continuation or a prequel or a middle in between thing. I don't know.
Knowing Disney for who they are and the way that the war for Planet of the Apes ended, I think this is going to be a reboot of the franchise that is Planet of the Apes. I think it's going to be a more traditional take on that story as opposed to what they did recently, where it was an origin story for these, and it was a more realistic take and a more emotional take as they gave us this story not from the perspective of the humans, but from Caesar.
Do you think we're going to get that moment where one of the apes is lifting another one, Simba style?
I don't remember that from the movies.
But because it's Disney.
Oh, you know what? It's going to be chock full of jokes. Absolutely.
Poop jokes. They're going to throw poop.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That's the problem. It's going to have that terrible CGI that we saw in Lion King and Jungle Book with the mouths moving. And it's unfortunate you're not going to get the Andy Serkis magic that we had in the Planet of the Apes films. And I remember, I think we both reviewed the third part or the second part here on the show.
The second. I never saw the third.
Third part was, it was kind of depressing, but it was all about sacrifice. And it was all about giving your life for not just your family, but for your people. And that's kind of what Caesar did. It was about this character not ruling with an iron fist, but instead doing it very wisely. He was the one that unlocked the mental capability of all of these chimpanzee and other apes and then led them to freedom. And then in the second one, you had that rebellion in between themselves, but one of them was more violent than he was, and it continued on from there. And we saw that in the very first one with James Franco's movie, where they planted the seeds on who these different ape characters were going to be. And while it's unfortunate that we're not going to quite get that with the Disney side, I am glad that they are choosing to instead reboot it, and that seems to be the right move for Disney, where they kind of want to distance themselves from what already happened and try to do it, the Disney cookie cutter way. So be it as it may, it'll be interesting to see at least what kind of vision this director has if they let him carry it out.
Another movie coming out that we just got the trailer for is James Bond, No Time to Die.
Why would I betray you?
We all have our secrets. You just didn't get to yours yet.
So this seems to take place right after, what was the last one? Spectre? And it is where, if you haven't seen it, it's been a few years since the last one came out, but he does seem to retire once again, thanks to a lady friend that will probably end up, and we've seen it in the trailer now, betraying him. Yeah. But then he has to figure out if she really is, or she's going to end up dying near the beginning. Although in this case, it seems like her character does continue past the opening scene where he figures out that he's been betrayed.
Right.
And he's already seen it with Casino Royale, so if you're going to keep the continuity of the characters, and Casino is my favorite one, you got to have it where he doesn't trust her even from the beginning when he seemingly retires after what happened with Vesper, who was the one that he really loved, and now he's finding a new one. That's one thing in the last one I didn't really buy. I don't know if you felt the same, but I didn't buy that love because I felt that in Casino, the way they built that movie, this was supposed to explain why he's so jaded, why he discards women the way he does, why he doesn't get close to any of them. And that's how it seemed to end. And you didn't really have another strong love interest until this last one where he retires and leaves for another woman. And I'm like, but we just saw in Casino like 2 movies ago that he's past all that.
Right, that he's never going to trust anyone ever again. Yeah, I didn't either. Anytime that they give him like a lasting love interest, I just don't believe it.
Do you think that the percentage of women watching this movie is large or at all a big chunk of the pie compared to your standard movie, your standard action movie?
I don't know. I feel like maybe a few movies ago, like when he first started on as James Bond, maybe because women always love James Bond movies for whatever reason. But I feel like it's been so long between these movies, right? They're not ever close together. You wait a really long time. And then I don't really feel that they build the hype to really make women be like, yes, I need to go see James Bond the way they maybe did for Pierce Brosnan. Because when he was James Bond, that was all I heard about and I was young. And you don't really hear about Daniel Craig as much, even though I think he's a much more attractive James Bond.
A lot of that, of course, is the financial troubles that they've gone into and fell into because in between these movies. But I guess what I mean to ask is the love story at all relevant to the female audience members that are going out to see James Bond? Is it that necessary to get these audiences in?
I don't think so, because I don't think anybody ever goes sees James Bond for a love story. I feel like if you give him that, you're trying to change who we've come to believe his character is, because James Bond is a use him and lose him, right? You expect some hot chick, he's going to sleep with her and she's going to be gone. And so I don't know if they're just really trying to reinvent the character, or maybe this is something that comes from the books, right? I don't know. I never read the books. I only know the movie James Bonds that have been portrayed.
Let's expand a little bit more on the trailer because, to be honest, I liked the trailer. I was really excited for all of these movies, even though the Spectre, I'm like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite.
But that beginning scene in Spectre was...
in Mexico City? Yeah, so good.
Amazing. Like, when you talk about that movie, that's all I really remember is that beginning scene, but it was so good.
That opening scene was great. In Skyfall, most of that movie's, the camera work is incredible. Casino Royale, the story, the action, all of that is great. Same director as GoldenEye, who worked on Casino Royale. And he's actually the guy, I don't know if you know, but in the airport, when the villain cracks the neck on one of the airport guys on the runways, you see the guy's face and he falls to the ground. That's the director. But the one thing you can say about these movies is, even though the story might not have been as strong in Quantum of Solace or in Spectre, you can at least enjoy the action scenes, the set pieces, the crazy explosions that they put in there. It never feels like, even though these are larger than life movies, to me, this run of movies, these Daniel Craig ones, haven't felt, I don't know, Transformers fake as far as like too big to believe. Right. It feels grounded and legitimate and taken or created more earnestly than you would. And I guess they should, because you're dealing with fucking James Bond. Yeah,
overall I felt that this trailer was okay. And again, that may be because there was so much space in between them that I even had to ask you, I'm like, who's this chick? And you were like, oh, it's one from the last movie. So I didn't quite remember. Maybe if we had, and hopefully in the movie we'll get a flashback at some point that really solidifies, hey, she was in the last movie. You know, you got some great looking action scenes. There's, of course, mystery in there. You got him going around shooting. You're introducing this new chick who's licensed to kill, who probably could be the next Bond, right? If they continue with her, because that was really interesting. The small interactions that you saw between them. And then, of course, you had the very end when he walks, Dana, Dana. It was cool. That was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, that 00 Bond, the new one, the one that had been working for 2 years, as they said, and this was the one that that was rumored to be replacing James Bond for the franchise moving forward. We've barely seen any of this trailer. This is the very first one, but I did not see that as like, this is the future of the franchise, by the way. I felt like it was just another character like Felix and like M and Ray Fiennes and someone else that he can fight alongside maybe. I don't think there was enough build up in this trailer for them to build that character as the future or a spin-off movie or any of that. And I did like that we got to see Q, of course. You need to see him. And yeah, you got to see the new M with Ray Fiennes, who I hope makes it through to the end. We've only had him a few movies, but that's still a great character to have in this. Did you get any vibes of this is the end for, is he going to die in this movie? Is he going to retire yet again for a third time?
If he retires again, I'm just going to be done. I'm going to be like, I'm done with you, James Bond. You're worse than a high school girl, changing your mind with everything. I'm done. I didn't get any vibes one way or the other, but I really don't want them to give me those vibes yet, right? If that's a big plot point of the movie, whether he for reals officially retires or I think he'll legitimately have to die to retire, I want that to be kind of one of those big twists, those gut-wrenching moments at the end. And if I know about it now, then I'm not going to have those same emotions.
Last thing I want to touch on is the villain that we got in this. He's the star of Mr. Robot. He was in the Mystery at the Museum, Night at the Museum.
Oh, okay.
He plays the Egyptian in that. But yeah, more importantly, he's being known for Mr. Robot. I think that won some Emmys or awards or performance. I know it's definitely been nominated for several. And he is the main villain for this movie. He was also, of course, more recently, it was a big Oscar thing. He played the rock star with the mustache, and he passed away of
Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yes.
Okay.
He was the main guy in that.
Yeah.
He played the singer. Is this someone that's as dangerous? That's one of the lines that he said. It's like you're looking at in the mirror a past of someone with violence. Is this someone that's going to match Bond on his violent level? Because we haven't really gotten that too much. I guess we did in Skyfall. We got a little bit of that, but he didn't really go hand to hand with Daniel Craig.
I mean, we hope that that's what they build. I don't know. I just saw like half his scarred face and I'm like, oh, you're scarred just like the rest of them. Is that just like a prerequisite to be an evil villain?
Yeah, that's an ongoing thing for all the Bonds.
Oh, they're all scarred on their... Okay. Anyway, that's all we really saw of him. I would, again, hope that that's what they would build, especially if this is the last one with Daniel Craig before they potentially reboot and start over, if that's what they do. Then yeah, you're really going to want that really high stakes villain who's going to overshadow all the rest of the ones that we've already seen.
James Bond, No Time to Die is set to release on April 8th, 2020.
I have the slogan for this movie.
The upcoming one we're talking about? Or?
James Bond.
Okay.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Then it would win an Oscar. You just put that lady, be like, Dunna, nana. No time to die. Ain't nobody got time for that. It'd be perfect.
I wonder what she's doing now.
Living her best life. Probably going to get a cold pop.
Residuals of that.
I hope so. Do you think she made any money off of that?
I really hope so. A lot of times they don't, but I hope they do. Because I think it's the news station that technically owns that footage. So if anyone were to make money, it's the company
station.
that actually,
Lame.
We do have a bit of superhero movie news that does not involve either of the big two. In a recent Toy Fair interview, Spawn creator Todd McFarlane spoke on the state of the upcoming Spawn film.
He said, quote, "Here's what I can tell you. I have people with money on the sidelines. There are people that are going to help me make this movie. The question is, do we go into Hollywood, make a deal with Hollywood, and then go and make the production, and then come back? Or do I take the outside money, go make it, and then come back to Hollywood?" End quote.
Actors Jamie Foxx and Jeremy Renner are attached for key roles. I don't know how much longer big names like that are going to wait around to see if they're going to go with big Hollywood or if they're going to go independent instead, kind of like the TMNT route from back in the 80s. I honestly don't know what the right move is, but I hope that they get it done quick because it sounds like they have the money. Sounds like there's plenty of investors, but you don't want to wait until people are no longer interested in working on this.
I don't know. The way he said, I'm like, do you really have people on the sidelines? Or you're just trying to say that so then people are like, oh, I'll give you money if you don't go to Hollywood, right? I don't know. Personally, and again, I'm not a filmmaker or anything like that, but I think the smarter route is just to go and do it independent and do your own thing. And I think that if he went into Hollywood and went with a big company, he's going to want so much control over that movie that they're never going to come to a solid agreement. And at the end, he's not going to like it.
From what I remember, I think they said that this was going to be a more grounded horror movie and take on Spawn. Not so much like the superheroics that they had in the 90s with the big cape and everything. More like a serial killer like Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers going after these villains and everything. So that tells me lower budget than what you would get. And I'm interested to see that, and I'm still on the side of, I know a lot of the Spawn fans are like, I want to see the giant cape and the chains and the guns, and yeah, that is Spawn, but it's being written by Todd, it's supposedly being directed by Todd, and it's his creation, so if he wants to make a Spawn movie where it's not the ginormous cape that transforms into a vehicle or whatever, like in the movie, then so be it. Let's see what he wants to do and a different take on the character than what we got before.
Absolutely. With him being, one, the creator of the character, and then two, having all the vision behind this, you really can't get mad at him about anything that he decides to do, because it's like, well, yeah, it's your character.
A character that I ended up getting a number of pre-orders for already comes straight out of the Mandalorian TV show. The Child, also known as Baby Yoda, a Funko Pop, will be released early next year. We're looking at March, April, May, in that window. Will anyone care then?
Yes, everyone's still going to care.
You think they're still going to... It's meme status now, right?
It's... Oh my god, it's such a meme status. I'm just so done with Baby Yoda. Everything is Baby Yoda sipping tea. Right. Everything. Or holding a little spatchy spatch. Like, looking up, like, me, 8 years old, looking at my mom. I can't. I'm over it. There's too much Baby Yoda. But yes, I think the hype will still be there. How long has that stupid cat meme been going on, right? Forever. And if they continue to feature him in the show, which I'm sure they will, and he continues to do cute things, yes, definitely by April or March, you're still going to have a strong fan following for this.
So you think he's the next dancing Groot?
Yes, 100%.
I hope so, because I sold a shit ton of dancing Groot pops.
There are memes of dancing Groot saying, "You took everything from me," and Baby Yoda says, "I don't know who you are."
All right.
So there we go, yes.
So I guess they're enemies now.
Definitely Baby Groot.
Let them meet each other. Well, Disney wins either way, right? Because they own both of them.
Yes.
Reason I bring this up is because it does handle the merchandising in a different way. And executive producer Jon Favreau commented on why they held off on having this product or any product for so long. And this was in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter.
He said, quote, "I think that part of what people really value is to be surprised and delighted, and I think that's becoming all too rare. It's very difficult to keep secrets about projects you're working on. By holding back on that one product, we knew that we may have had the disadvantage of not having toys available date and date. But what we got in exchange was an excitement surrounding the character because everybody felt that they discovered him together," end quote.
I will agree on that end part of it. It did seem like it spiked interest, obviously, in the character. Everyone was tweeting about it at the same time as the show showed up or premiered on Disney Plus. Me as a retailer, I'm like, fucking A, man. Like, I probably could have sold more during this holiday season of Yoda merchandise than in next year in March. And that's that's the only thing that I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, but at the same time, and I get that he's saying we wanted everyone to be surprised. That wasn't it. I don't think they thought this character was going to be as popular as it was. I think they thought everyone was going to be attracted to the Boba Fett or the Mandalorian or whatever his name is.
Boba Fett.
Okay. I think they thought he was going to be attracted to that, and then everybody fell in love with Baby Yoda sipping tea.
I think that is a part of it too, because it seems like even though we're getting some solicitations now of Baby Yoda merchandise, it's not a lot of it. It's not like there's a huge wave of it coming out in March and next year. Like, we had this ready and designed, and here's the t-shirts, here's the plushes, here's all. I've seen the plush, I've seen the pop, and that's about it. Everything else has been custom made by fans or people that have like t-shirt shops and they're making their own merchandise. Smart, because now they're getting all the sales during the holiday season and Disney is not. So I don't think that's an even exchange, and maybe it does lend more to that theory of they didn't think it was going to hit quite the way that he has.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen with the character. We're not watching The Mandalorian, but I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of it they added more of the character or changed some kind of outcome of what could have happened to the character.
The last episode, they're going to turn a corner and it's just this whole tribe of Yoda things.
You calling it? You're saying that's it?
No, I'm not even watching the show. I don't know.
And then you hear Godzilla's roar.
Roar! As he defeats King Kong.
Nope.
Yes.
Never. We have some comic book news here with Sean Murphy, who has begun work on his third volume in the White Knight series for DC Comics titled Batman Beyond the White Knight.
Is this too much? Do you think we're going too far?
We knew he was going to do 3.
Okay.
He's always said from the beginning that it was going to be 3 volumes, and he was well
Right.
ahead of it. But now we have the title of it. Is this Batman Beyond? Do you think this is really what it sounds like?
Maybe. Do you think it would lend itself to Return of the Joker?
That'd
Because
be cool.
now what? Now it just got cool because it's related to the animated series.
Well, Sean Murphy's a huge fan of
Right.
those 2 things, Batman the Animated Series and also the 89 Keaton or Tim Burton universe, if anything,
Right.
because he has so many references to that world and also to the animated series with the 2 Harley Quinns. He managed to explain how there's 2 different versions of Harley and they're vastly different, but he's like, oh, they're 2 different people.
Right.
It's almost like the 3 Jokers before the 3 Jokers. It's the 2 Harleys. So really clever, and I really enjoyed it. If it is Batman Beyond, I'm excited to see what his take is on it. I think we're both like, yeah, we think Batman Beyond's cool, but we're not as crazy about it as I think viewers younger than us. It didn't hit us at that age. I think that
It was
we
after
grew up-
our time.
We grew up in the animated series, and then our generation after grew up on Batman Beyond, and to them, that's their Batman. It's a diet Batman. It's on that same line as Nightwing and Red Hood and all of them.
But he has like cool dance music in his theme song. Na, 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 na. I'm singing Sonic if you couldn't tell. It's not Batman Beyond.
I will give Batman Beyond this. It's a much better handled future character than Spider-Man Unlimited or even Spider-Man 2099 because they had the original co-creators of characters like Harley Quinn or revamps of someone like Mr. Freeze with Paul Dini and Bruce Timm working on this future version of Batman Beyond, which they didn't really want to do, but as they were kind of mandated by Warner Brothers, like, look, we need another show, how about this? And then they started thinking about it. All right, well, why don't we have it? And Paul Dini had an interview on Fat Man Beyond back when Kevin Smith actually had a podcast about Batman and the creators and everything. And he talks about it more there on they slept on it and then they woke up on with so many ideas like, well, if we were to do this show, why don't we do this? And what if we did this? And then it just, they took off running after that. Like, oh, we got to have this show now.
Right. That's so cool. It's awesome that you got to hear that story. Thanks for sharing it with me.
I feel like I did. And you had a kid in between there somewhere.
so it all evaporated.
Last bit of news here does have to do with, because it happens every single week now. It is a weekly segment. Every week we have news on it. So many things happening behind the scenes. And it is your weekly dose of Release the Snyder Cut.
Do you have a theme song for this? You should.
I'm going to have to soon, I think.
Can it should be like the Unsolved Mysteries theme song.
That's a great one.
or what's the one that goes do 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 boop 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 boop? Is that X-Files? It should be X-Files.
I thought it was Ocarina of Time for a second that you
No,
were
what?
singing.
I
I was
don't
like,
even
it
know
kind
that.
of sounded like that.
You should do Unsolved Mysteries. Today on Release the Snyder
There
Cut.
you go.
So in an interview with Real Blend's Kevin McCarthy, Man of Steel star Henry Cavill spoke about the Snyder Cut of the Justice League.
And this got a lot of feathers ruffled in the
Mine
Snyder
are ruffled.
Cut community. He said, quote, I have not seen any Snyder Cut. I don't know if there's anything that exists that is a Snyder Cut. I'm sure there's footage out there that's probably been pieced together over the years. I'm always interested to see how that stuff turns out, but that is very much a chapter in my past. I would rather talk about what's going to happen in the future of Superman, end quote.
Obviously, this is upsetting because every other actor was a part of Justice League, right, is very much on board with release the Snyder Cut, release his vision. We believed in this vision. And this just kind of, in our minds, further solidifies that Henry was only there for the paycheck, right? And not really behind it. But at the same time, I do have to question how much of that is his PR telling him that this is what he needs to do. And if it is, he needs to get a new PR team because that is obviously not the direction that he should be going. If he supported this wholeheartedly, a lot of those fans would follow him in anything that he did because they believe in Snyder's vision as well and would see that support, right? And by doing this, I think he's really only hurting himself in the long run.
Yeah, it's a very odd thing to say for him. And I don't know if it is a PR move or if there's negotiations of him wanting more pay if they release the original version of Justice League and he didn't get what he wanted, so he's not going to support it publicly. Who knows what it is? But he has an Instagram, and we've been tagging him in those Justice League releases Snyder Cut posts. But his agent is also it does actually have a Twitter, whereas he doesn't. So we've all been tweeting his agent and telling her, hey, why don't you have him publicly support the Snyder Cut, because it'll benefit not only Henry, but also the filmmakers that worked on this movie, his colleagues that worked very hard on this film. And it's like a win-win. That's what I ended up tweeting. And but again, we don't know what's going on. But if anything, we do know is that tweets work, because we've had so many things and revelations and changes, and to the point where Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, and all these other actors have been tweeting #release the Snyder Cut. So it is something that has done a lot already. But it's a matter of, all right, well, Henry's not there to be behind every other league member, unfortunately, on releasing the Snyder Cut. One of my favorite tweets, I think it was from Vinaldo, but he said that it's funny how Superman ended up being the dark side in this story, and Darkseid ended up being our Superman.
Right, yeah. That's too funny.
Do you hold any, I know we're not happy about him kind of just avoiding the subject and everything. I'm still handling this as in, all right, if he's not on board, so be it. We can tweet at him and everything, but I'm not actively upset at the actor for that, because there are so many that are huge players already on our side for this. So we should keep focusing on keeping them and having them support the movement more, and doing what we can to get this version of Justice League released. And one of the things that on that same day, we were like, all right, someone needs to show Henry the cut of Justice League, because he obviously hasn't seen it, and all these other actors have.
Right.
There's even actors that didn't work on Justice League that have seen the movie. We talked about the ex-wrestler who worked on Guardians of the Galaxy, Bautista, who said he hinted that he saw the cut of Justice League. So it's like, someone get it in fucking Henry's trailer or wherever he's at, because it's kind of ridiculous.
I'm definitely not mad at him. Going back to what we were talking about last week, right, where James Wan changed things. That was James Wan's vision. I can't be mad at him for it. And maybe Henry Cavill didn't necessarily believe in Snyder's vision, right? And again, you can't be mad at him. Am I disappointed? Yes. Am I like a disappointed parent? Like, this isn't what I would have chosen for you, but this is what you did. Sure. But again, this is his job, and maybe he's not as sold on these characters and all this story as the rest of them are. And do I think it's still weird that he phrased it like he did? Yeah, because that he can be, I don't want to say unsupportive, but not advocating for it without sounding unsupportive. There we go. That's the way to put it.
One of the things that his quotes did do is it put out that doubt of like, no, I haven't seen any Snyder Cut. I don't know if that it exists. Well, the next morning, Zack Snyder, the very next morning, he posted an image of various film cans on his Vero account with the label ZSJL Director's Cut 214 minutes. Those labels were on there, along with the caption, is it real? Does it exist? Of course it does.
Maybe they're
Fucking
working
insane.
together. Maybe they told Henry Cavill to do all these things so that he can then release things, and we're like, oh, he's releasing more, but he was going to do it anyway, and now there's more press about it.
And some of the things, someone asked him if it was in relation to Henry's comments the day before, and he responded with, I'm just tired of people asking if it exists. And I'm sure it was in response to that.
Right.
Guys,
To some degree.
obviously, it's 214 minutes. And there was another, I'm not even going to look up his name, but there was another blogger, site runner, that said, well, the image he posted of 214 minutes is the assembly cut. So that's like all the footage that they filmed, and then from there they cut it down into a workable movie. And Zack Snyder, I think it was within an hour of the guy posting that tweet, he said, no, our assembly cut was 5 hours long.
Shit. Give me that one. Release the assembly Snyder cut.
So people were like, shit, man. I posted the fatality GIF on there underneath. Like, you fucking, that guy's dead now. And other people were saying, yeah, I hope you enjoyed those few minutes of clicks on your website up until Zach completely obliterated your theory.
Yep.
Glad Zack Snyder is active on Twitter. I know his preferred platform is obviously Vero, but he is there to show us and confirm the 214 minutes once again for his cut of the film.
Once again, we keep hoping that we will get a solid release date by the end of the year. Who knows? We're still here. We know that it exists. We're getting more and more every week.
One of the hosts on Suicide Squadcast pointed out that The Irishman is shorter than the cut of Justice League for Snyder's cut.
Oh my God. That took us like 3 days to watch.
It's awesome. I can't wait to watch that cut.
It's going to take you a week.
Not for that. I will sit there.
You're going to kick Leo and I out of the house and you're like, bye, I'm watching this.
That is our last bit of news for this week, though. Before we head into our thank yous to everyone that makes the show possible, it is our Patreon shout-outs of the week.
This week, we have 6 shout-outs. The first one goes out to Brian, whose Twitter handle is @BrianShaup1.
Brian is on your side, Kelly, when it comes to the King Kong versus Godzilla debate.
I didn't even know what he was on my side for, but damn right. He picked the right side.
He's very much on Godzilla's side.
Good. Godzilla's the only side to be on.
I did agree with him when he referred to it as Zilla, because I'm like, oh, Zilla from the Matthew Broderick movie?
No,
that American Godzilla. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, I'll relent.
Stop
Zilla.
trolling. You know what he was talking about. Just stop it.
Next shout out goes out to Kat on Instagram @CatShaw.
Kat has been posting landscape photography on her Instagram.
So as she goes, I guess it's not mountain climbing, but hiking.
Hiking, yeah.
She'll take pictures of the surrounding area, the mountains, the the smaller waterfalls, the dams in the nearby area. So definitely check it out for some photography pics.
Next up, we have Matt, whose Twitter handle is @Mr. Forklift.
He has been sharing Smithsonian and National Geographic links, always shares some really good articles on his Twitter, and also UCF football news. So if you're a UCF Knight or you follow those teams, definitely follow Matt on Twitter @Mr. Forklift.
Next is Jared, Twitter handle @SpoonSandwich. You can also find him on YouTube at youtube.com/JaredMonroe.
Jared's on my side, meanwhile. He thinks that Godzilla should just let it go and leave humans alone.
Why?
Because he's being dramatic. Like, just let the humans... Why does he have to go on cities and mess around? He can just lay underwater with his Queen Mothra and they can just be happy. Or by himself.
1, Mothra would drown. So she can't lay underwater, okay? 2, humans destroyed the world. He went and took a nap and woke up and he's like, the fuck is this shit? And the world was destroyed. So yeah, like if ants came into your house, right, and destroyed it, you'd be squishing the ants.
Even in the Netflix Godzilla, he runs around destroying cities, destroying airports. That's how Haruo's parents died. They were just trying to fly from the airport, and he comes up like, oh, no, you're not going anywhere. Boom.
Okay, so then the wasps are just trying to build a civilization outside your house, and then they try to fly away, and you shoot them with your wasp spray.
Godzilla should be better than I.
I'm just trying to say, he was trying to defend his world. He took a nap. He woke up. It went to shit. They were causing global warming. They were being nasty to each other. So he just had to wipe them out. And you can't fault him for that. Just because King Kong wanted to live as a recluse and just not even care about the world around him, and Godzilla decided to take action, now we're faulting Godzilla.
I don't want you to bring King Kong into this.
I did.
But if you will, Batman also lived like a recluse in Batman v Superman. So if King Kong is the Batman of this franchise, then so be it.
But
and Batman also won.
Batman still goes out into the world and takes care of shit, much as King Kong does. I mean, not King Kong, Godzilla. Godzilla goes out and takes care of stuff.
What does King Kong does? When Godzilla goes around.
King Kong just stays at home and hides in his little house.
Can't wait for King Kong to brand them with like a K.
You know... No, I can't wait for Godzilla to defeat King Kong. It's going to be great.
Next shout out this week goes out to Scott on Twitter @LazyGamingGuys and @Pandanime.
Scott shared some artwork from storyboards of what would have been a Kingdom Hearts pilot.
Would you watch a Kingdom of Hearts show?
I don't know what that show is, but I would watch a Kingdom Hearts show.
Why do you think they didn't move forward with it? Do you think there's too many franchises and properties at play to make the show profitable?
That's probably a big part of it. The other part of it is that the series, that story just got way too convoluted. How are you, like the people who are very religious about playing all those games still have a difficult time understanding what's going on with all the things. So to release that to the masses, that would be pretty difficult.
Oh, none of those gamers know. As much as they claim that they understand the story, they don't.
No.
But I think they would have been upset at the show had it come out because it wouldn't have followed the games quite as well. Right. And the writers were probably overwhelmed by the lore. Like, do you guys know what's going on? No, I don't. I mean, I do. Well, then can we write up a story? You guys
write the story. Have Sora swing on some vines. It'll be
for
fun.
30 minutes. That'll be the episode. Last shout out this week goes out to Jose on Instagram at Kingdom T-shirt.
Jose posted up some Mandalorian "This is the way" shirt designs.
I don't know what that is, but I've seen that phrase in several.
I know what it is.
What is it?
This is the way.
It's not fucking Uganda knuckles. God damn it.
This is the way to these nuts. This is so funny. You have a pretty amazing wife. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm like the best.
Oh, man. I thought you didn't find those jokes funny. Clearly you do. You see the magic behind it?
The magic is that you think they're funny, but I don't know why. Okay, so the story behind that is Daniel sitting at the table cracking up about D's nuts jokes. and I went and I worked hard all day, and I was a great manager, and being a mom and a wife, and Daniel's just laughing about these nuts. And I don't understand men and why they find penises and nuts hilarious.
I mean, you just found it, right?
I mean, I found it funny because I got you and you thought it was hilarious. And I would have found anything that I had gotten you to laugh that hard about funny because I think I am hilarious and I'm so great. But like, you don't hear women running around like this vagina. Like, it's not funny.
I think there's one comedian that does, and she gets shit on all the time. I forgot who she is. She's on Netflix. She's one of the biggest.
See, why can't vaginas be funny?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay.
It's a good question. But huge thanks to Jose, Scott, Jared, Matt, Kat, and Brian for your Patreon support.
If you too would like your shout out every single month for as little as $1 a month, that's 25 cents an episode, you can become a Patreon backer and get your shout out, and we'll laugh about something.
And if you want to be heard on the show, let's say you don't want to tweet or you don't have a Twitter or Facebook or anything, but you want to be heard on the podcast, you can go to speakpipe.com/thereasonsimBroke. There is a link in today's episode. You too can get your question read on the air. And it's as simple as using your phone, recording it as if you're making a phone call, and that is it. You can hear it back, and you can re-record it too. So if you're nervous about how you sound or you need 17 takes, you can do that. It's 90 seconds or less, plenty of time.
That's awesome. Plenty of time.
But let's go ahead and move on to our second to last segment of the show. It is our comic book review of the week.
As we said in the very beginning, our highlight this week is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 of 5, or Mmpr Tmnt 1 of 5.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 is written by Ryan Parrott, with art by Simon Di Meo, with colors by Walter Biamonte and Igor Monti.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Ninja Turtles #1. It's a great starting point.
What'd you think of this first issue?
The first issue of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1.
Yeah, what'd you think of the worlds colliding, this world of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and going into, I guess they merged or they were always a part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe?
That's what it seems like in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles It seems like they've been one world all along, because there's a moment when I mean, we're going to spoil it, right? Where when Tommy turns into a Power Ranger and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are like, oh my God, you're a Power Ranger. And so it just seems like they always existed and everybody knows about the Power Rangers, but nobody knows about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And that's where I got confused, because I was like, did they meet before? I was trying to think of all the crossovers and I'm like, no, the Power Rangers have met with Justice League. Turtles have met with Batman. And I'm like, no, those two, though, haven't crossed over.
Yeah, but if if they are in the same world, obviously the Power Rangers are going to be on the news, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are going to learn about them.
Yeah, they're on the news all the time. You watch those old cartoons. It's always the old reporter in his 50s like, thank you, Power Rangers, wherever you are. And I'm like, why does he sound romanticized by these teenagers? Obviously, he doesn't know they're teens, but...
Right. And it's interesting because I don't think I ever made that connection. Like, I knew the Power Rangers were teens, but I guess I never really made the connection that, oh, both of these characters are teenagers. So what does that mean for them meeting up? Because they're probably both going to relate to a lot of things because they still have that teenager mentality, but they have so much of the world on their shoulders.
Obviously, these two teams end up fighting because anytime you have a crossover, you have to have them fight. And I'd be almost disappointed, even though it's a staple and it's expected. I want to see it still. I thought that the Turtles would overrun these fucking teenagers because they have Master Splinter and they fight the Foot. They fought Shredder, these ancient Japanese lords that they've been trained by and they fight against, versus these teens that learn at their high school and practice in their dojo.
Yeah, but the suits still give them probably like added strength and added speed.
Sure.
And then I'm sure there's like computer technology, something in their helmets that's going to help them perceive different things. So I think if it was one-on-one, no suits, yes, absolutely, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would totally overrun the Power Rangers. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, number one. Okay. They would totally overrun them, but because they have the added ability of the suit, and then it makes it kind of even so that we don't have that massive overpowering of what Godzilla is going to do to King Kong in the movie later this year.
Did you see how each turtle immediately gravitated towards that particular Power Ranger? It didn't work out where Donatello fought Trini. It was like, no, he fought the Blue Ranger, of course, because they're both the eggheads. And then who did Raphael fight? Oh, the Green Ranger, right?
Yeah.
Later on, which does make sense.
Because they're cranky.
I did like that they made it so that Tommy, and this is, I guess, the biggest revelation of this issue. So if you haven't read it, maybe it's a slight spoiler, but that he is involved with the Foot in some deeper way, which I thought was really neat. But we don't quite yet know why he is working with the Foot instead of with his friends.
He is working with the Foot as an undercover agent to solve something.
Was that confirmed, though?
It's not, but I know that's what it's going to be. And he's just feeding them the line of, I don't fit in anywhere, so at least I fit in with you.
To get the reader also thinking, like, he went bad again.
He went bad, but he's not, because he's still got Kimberly as his girlfriend. And when he's like, just trust me, Kimberly, she's like, okay, bye. And like, I think if he was really going bad, she wouldn't have that level of trust. And we're not going to see that relationship dissolve.
Are we going to get the Turtles as we predicted when they first elicited this? Are the Turtles going to get their own Dragon Zords or Mighty Morphers or anything like that?
That would be so cool. I don't know. It's still up in the air for me. I mean, it's only 5 issues, and I didn't feel like they really tackled a whole lot in this one. So I would love to see it. Is it going to lend itself to the story? I don't know that I believe that.
I want at least one of the Power Rangers to hand his power coin to one of the Turtles, and then they get that suit. But it's obviously modified to fit also a turtle, which I think would be really neat.
That would be pretty
cool. And then the bold thing of at the very end, do a huge crossover by issue 5 of like the Justice League showing up in Angel Grove / New York City.
Just calm down. That's
so that
too
we
much.
have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Justice League of America, number 1.
I want to change the theme song, like when they get their Zords, right? So it'd be like, go, go, Power Ranger. Wait, no, it has to be, go, go, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Justice League of America, number 1. And I would be so go, go, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We got to get Eminem to come sing it.
I'm waiting for Zordon and Splinter to meet. I think that'll be good.
They're like the same person.
Want them to fight somehow.
How are they going to fight?
I don't know. Find a way.
Okay.
Don't say it. I knew what you were going to say.
You know the way to these nuts.
All right, let's head into the final
find a way to these nuts
segment of this podcast. That's what we want to call this.
Such a classy podcast we have here.
It is the Brokehead block, which is where Papa Kelly and I have been, as well as a Brokehead question for this week.
So the first question we have comes from @CubanSlim, who gives us a question every single week. Thank you so much. But he asked for 377 initial thoughts on No Time to Die.
Which we covered earlier, for sure. Definitely something that I think Bobby's somewhat familiar that we like the Bond franchise. So Hopefully you enjoyed our coverage on that first trailer, Bobby.
He also asks, what are your thoughts on what we've seen so far of Kevin Conroy as Batman in CW's Crisis crossover? Will we see him in a cowl?
I fucking hope so, man. Like, I want to see Kevin Conroy. You don't bring on Batman himself onto the live action show and not have him put on the Batman suit. I don't care what Batman suit it is, but you put a cowl and a cape on the man. And if you don't, you have failed as a filmmaker, because you have him there. You've done the other Supermen so far have worn the Superman suit, except for the Smallville one, who shows up as, I believe, Clark Kent in The Farm. And I thought I heard that he has a thing against the suit.
Yeah, he never wore the suit in the show anyway.
Right. Doesn't he have a shirt that has the S on it, though? Or like he was shirtless with the S?
Maybe. I think so. But for most of it, I don't even think they ever refer to him as Superman. I don't know. I have to go back and ask my dad because he's in love with the show. But they pretty much just refer to him as the Blur for the majority of it because he is so young and he's not really Superman yet. So, I mean, it makes sense. I don't think it's out of character if they continue to say, well, in his world, he just continued doing this.
Gotcha. Well, so far, my point being that they have all these other actors in their suits. You got to have Kevin Conroy in his. And there was that teaser trailer that just released. And you haven't seen this yet, but it's not a huge revelation. It shows Kevin Conroy coming downstairs where Batwoman is. And he's got like this mechanical, like sounding steps as he goes down. Like almost he has like this exoskeleton, just like in Justice, I believe is what it was. The Alex Ross Paul Dini book might have been, Kingdom Come. It's Kingdom Come Batman anyway. But he's going down and you hear the mechanical legs and Batwoman says, Bruce. And he looks down and, he, in his Batman voice, just says Kate as he looks down, and that's kind of it. So I don't know. Like I think it's cool, but if you don't have him in the suit, it's kind of all right. Like
kind of a waste of time.
I hope he got paid handsomely, but for the fans, you got to have that payoff.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I hope we see him in the suit, but I don't think it's ever something that we would see before we actually watch the show, because I think there's so much more hype around that and so much more anticipation. The other ones, we've seen them in suits prior, right? That's just what they do. And oh, cool, now they're back in the suit. But Conroy, we've never seen him in one. We've only had his voice, and there's so much excitement around him playing Batman that no, you're not going to want to show him off in his suit prior to, because that's what's going to make people watch it, even though they necessarily wouldn't, because you're going to say, well, will I see him in the suit?
I also like that they didn't go out of their way to dye his hair black or anything like that to make him look like the Bruce in the comics. It's literally just Kevin Conroy going down the stairs, and I'm like,
Perfect.
all right, I'll take it.
Perfect.
He sounds like Batman. Put on the cowl, he'll look like Batman. He is Batman. Let's do it.
Perfect.
We also ended up watching the DC Universe's Harley Quinn episode 1. I know episode 2 released yesterday, I believe, which we haven't caught yet. But what'd you think of episode 1 as a Harley Quinn fan?
I really liked it. I thought the show was humorous. Again, that Adult Swim type humor that we were talking about, right? Where it's definitely not for children. We watched it with Leo. I don't think we can watch it with Leo moving forward, because just beyond the cursing, right? And he's a baby, so he doesn't understand, except he does say shit sometimes. But anyway, moving forward, it's a lot of violence. It's a lot of people's heads blowing up and guts going everywhere, and Looney Tunes humor to the extreme, which makes the show humorous in a lot of ways, but again, not for children. It's very much a show for adults. There's a lot of adult humor, but I thought the pacing was great. I really liked the way they portrayed the characters of Harley, Joker manipulating Harley, like, oh, I was going to break up with you too because it's just not safe for you. And she's like, oh, then we should be together. And he's like, but only if you want to, right? Because he knows that he has her in his back pocket. And then Ivy coming along as the best friend, like, you're fucking dumb and let me show you why.
Yeah, this was 100% the New 52 version of Harley Quinn. Very close to the Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner version of that, which when I looked over at you watching, I can tell you were focused on the show, like you were liking it, and I figured you would have enjoyed the whole thing. Does any part of you kind of miss a little bit of the classic animated series Harley Quinn? Have you kind of accepted that this is the comic book, the current comic version? I do miss classic Harley, and I like that we got to see her in our classic suit for the beginning of it. But I also think that
to really truly be a fan of anything except for Pokemon, you have to understand that there's new things that come around and the characters go in a different direction. So I still really enjoy this version of Harley because I think there's a lot of what made me like her still a part of that. Is the original animated series Harley my favorite? Yes, I do really like that version of her, but I think that this is funny. I think that it's interesting to see all the different ways they can portray her character, and at the same time, I don't feel they've done her character injustice.
I thought the animation was on par with what you would probably expect from an exclusive streaming service. It wasn't mind-bending, but it wasn't like jarring either. Like I was pretty satisfied with the animation. I thought I don't mind the cursing or the blood or the guts or anything like that, but I do think that they went out of their way to really make sure that they put fuck or shit or whatever in every single sentence.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, no, it's
it
not that
wasn't
it's too much,
conversational at that
right,
point.
Exactly. So it's like they were deliberately trying, like, and then we can also put a curse here. It's like, no, just make it however it sounds great. I think it should be that you're not restricted from it,
right?
But you also shouldn't make it so that every single sentence has it. And that's and it's not like a prude thing. I don't care. Like you guys have heard the show, but it just doesn't sound, as you said, natural. Even though this is a cartoon about superheroes, but you've seen other cartoons like South Park even that use curse words that the curse words themselves don't distract you from the cartoon.
Right. It's conversational, right? If I were having a normal conversation, I wouldn't insert that many curse words all throughout it. I would use them when you really need them. So yeah, I can see that. I wonder if episode 2 would take a different turn from that. Maybe they just put that one in there trying to get as many viewers, and I don't know.
But I think that's nitpicking, really. It's not a huge thing. It's not a deal breaker at all. I think it's safe to say that we're there for the rest of the season and however many they make. It's not on par with Green Lantern, the animated series, or Batman, the animated series, or any of the shows that we've loved in the past. But it's just like the Harley Quinn comic book right now. It's fun, it's goofy, it's funny. There's all kinds of innuendo jokes in there, and I think there's enough to as well for the DC Universe fan, not necessarily the streaming service, but for the characters. There's enough in there for us to enjoy, and the Easter eggs and the different characters to make it worth watching.
As for our week, it was pretty crazy for both of us. We went through Black Friday and Thanksgiving, and for those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving, we hope you had a great one. I was very full and ate too much food, and it was magical.
Yeah, this was the year where I didn't feel like I ate too much or anything. It was kind of like a regular. I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. I think I was trying to save room because we went to your parents and then we went to mine. So I was like, all right, I got to save room. But I was still under that mentality when I went over there too. So I was kind of like, all right. And
I gorged myself in both places.
I was obviously thinking about Black Friday the next day, which at the comic shop, we topped last year's.
That's great.
With our Black Friday sale. So it was definitely a good Black Friday. And I think it's an indicator for the holiday season. I think we're going to have a very strong December. And so far, it's been a good December as well, as people are buying gift certificates. They're buying Funko Pops were the big column as well. Once again this year, huge column. And the other, we sold some trades, sold some comic books, back issues, but Funko are still a huge get for Black Friday shoppers and for holiday shoppers, really. They're coming in and they're, statues too, PVC statues. We sold some Dragon Ball ones, but the PVC statues, which are the right price, $50 to $55,
right.
Great size, great detail for what it is. Those are going to be good. So we ordered some extra Venom, some extra Iron Mans, extra Batman, extra Joker, and we have a couple different Wonder Womans, so I think we're good there. And the rest of the Marvel characters, it's like, if we sell out, fine. We have plenty of Spider-Man too. It'll be interesting to see what we sell out of this year, but I don't feel like there's that one item that everyone is asking for. Like last year was Fortnite. Do you have Fortnite Pops? Do you have them? And we didn't at that time. And this year we have them. Hopefully they'll still care.
Nobody wants those anymore.
No, they don't. But that was it. I'm excited to see what happens the rest of the year.
That's awesome. I have had a very difficult last 2 weeks. Very, very difficult with call-ins and people going on vacation and running 2 stores by myself for the very limited time that I've been with this company, taking over a new store, which is always a challenge because there's a ton of turnover when you get new management in any position. And not that I'm bad at it, right? But they're used to things a certain way, and now they're not that way, and they're dissatisfied, and they go find something else, which is fine. Like, go ahead, live your life, right? I'm never going to try and convince somebody to stay where they don't want to, because it's their career and their life. So yeah, just a lot on my plate. Really tired, putting in 11-hour days that start at 4:30 in the morning just to try and get everything up to speed. But, I was talking with my dad about a lot of these different things and what I'm doing for this position that I'm in and all that stuff. And I said, but in the last 6 months, I don't think there's been a single day that I've dreaded going into work. There hasn't been a single day where I'm like, ugh, got to go in there and deal with these people. Like, no, I'm always excited. And how can I inspire my team? And how can I meet all these new people and these customers that I have who are just fantastic and, wonderful and really care about my employees and not just coming in and getting their cup of coffee and leaving. Mm-hmm. So that was a really good revelation for me to have, where even though I'm exhausted every single day, because I sleep about 5 hours a night, right, between work and Leo and school and everything, that I still feel really fulfilled in what I'm doing. So yeah, just tired. Thankfully, we slowed down. So it was busy up until Thanksgiving, and then it just died. And that was it. So a little bit of a chance to get caught back up. And so hopefully by the end of next week, I will feel bright and refreshed.
Hopefully. Yeah, you're doing good. And it's all obviously going to settle down and pay off once you really settle into the new year, for sure. Because the holiday is always, no matter where you work, crazy. It's going to change things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I did forget, I did mention The Irishman, and you said how it took us a few days to watch it. Very brief thoughts. I'm not going to do a full review on it, but it is a story about Jimmy Hoffa and kind of answers questions on what happened there. But it's mainly about De Niro and his character, who's based on a real hitman, based on those particular events and those mobsters. It's solid. Obviously, most people have Netflix, I think, or I guess I should say most listeners probably have Netflix. It's up there now. I believe it's 3 hours and 40 minutes or so. It's De Niro. They use the de-aging technology that you've seen in the past with several of these actors. I think it's exactly like Al from Dead Channel Duo said, support original content, not necessarily capes and franchises, but something like The Irishman and even much smaller independent films. Because, you don't always want to just be tied into a toy or a movie or a TV show. Check out The Irishman. I really enjoyed it. The acting by De Niro is amazing, and I don't think there was one performance in this that was lacking. So absolutely check it out. It's on Netflix right now, and if you're able to catch it on theaters somewhere in some indie theater, then I would say check it out on the big screen if you can.
This week, they also released A Christmas Prince, The Royal Baby. That's on my list. I'll be watching that this week. You better believe. I thought it released last night, and I told my parents, and Dad texted back, and he goes, "It's not there. Your mother's heartbroken." So I guess she disowned me. So I'm going to get to go over there. I got us matching mugs to watch Christmas movies. I'll post a picture of them. But so we'll go, and we'll spend that time together, and my dad and Leo can, I don't know, do whatever. Mom and I will cry.
Give us a review next week.
Yeah, I will. It's going to be great. It's probably not going to be that great, but I'm excited.
So there you have it, everyone. That is the podcast for this week. If you want to find us on Twitter, head on over to @ReasonsI'mBroke or
@PalpaKelli, spelled with an I.
You can also find the link on everywhere you can find us at thereasonsi'mbroke.com. There is a link in today's episode. And once you get to the website, you will find the link to our merch, our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere that you can find us.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Mmpr Tmnt.
And I am Poke Fan Daniel.
And Broke at Core. All will be well.